All right, good afternoon. We're going to continue with our post-race media availability for today's Great Clips 250 here at Michigan International Speedway. And we've now been joined by our race-winning team, which includes Kyle Busch, Chris Gale, and Steve D'Souza. And Kyle, we'll start with you. Obviously, your first race back in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this season since Daytona. A great way to end it by visiting Victory Lane. Just talk about the day and obviously coming home the race winner there at the end.
Yeah, it was a really fun day. I thought from my seat, anyways. I thought the race was a really good race and competitive one at that. And kind of trading back and forth a little bit with the 22, the 88, the 33 was up there too. So really fun and enjoyable from my seat. All in all, I guess we kind of got off a little bit on that pit strategy deal, which is just different than everybody else. But, when we did that, it kind of had to bring us back down with that caution about 30 to go. And, we ended up just putting tires on it, just making sure we were all good to go to the end. And then knowing we had a fast race car, just trying to pick and choose our battles and how to get back to the front and using the outside. And then plenty of restarts after that, too. So, that final one was really good for us to get a push from Harvick to get up to the lead and clear the 22 before getting into turn one. And I thought I had it. I was like, all right, just don't screw it up. And then as soon as I got to one, and I screwed it up, and Harvick got to my outside. And then, I got freight train there to the back, about fifth or sixth, I think, before entering turn three. But then had to just get back going and rebuild my momentum and get back rolling. And then the 88 and the 22 kind of got into it a little bit there and washed up the racetrack where it gave me a hole to get through. And then, soldiered on with no caution to chase down the 9 car and ultimately get to him and tried to wasn't sure how I'd be able to pass him. I just knew to try to put him in a bad spot that, I could get myself in a better spot. So he'd have to roll out or lift or, not take a chance. And that all ended up happening through 3 and 4 and led the last few laps. So real good opportunity for us to be back in a victory lane. I appreciate Chris and these guys. They did a great job this weekend for me and putting together a good piece on the racetrack.
And Chris, for you, this is your second NASCAR Xfinity Series win as a crew chief. But really this season, the team had a few challenges just having to put different drivers in, not necessarily week to week, but sometimes it was week to week. Talk a little bit about just the season overall and really from your standpoint, being the leader of the team, how you guys kind of approach that each week and then being able to come to Michigan this weekend with Kyle and come home with the victory.
Yeah, I think it definitely was a challenging season. We start off with expectations of, having Kyle in the whole time, except for the non-companions, and really kind of picking up where the 54 left off, the last couple of years. And then obviously when he gets hurt, you go through the different rotation of drivers and not exactly knowing who you're going to have week to week. You want to put good cars out, but you're getting some experienced guys, and Eric's done a great job, but he just hadn't been to some of the racetracks. At the same time, we hadn't worked together as a team. It's a little bit different than what we had last year with the 11-car team. So it was challenging working through some of that, and then we kind of have gotten better the last few weeks. I think you've seen us second at Charlotte last weekend, or Dover we contended to win. I think we've kind of just done a little better with that each week. I think Kyle coming back will give us the consistency to really bring it to the next level. Obviously, this is great win this weekend.
A good place to start for sure. And Steve, for you, as Chris mentioned, at times a trying season from the NASCAR Xfinity side with the 54 team, a lot of success with Daniel and also including Eric being in the car as well. Just talk a little bit about this season and really just what today's win means overall.
Well, obviously for Joe Gibbs Racing, it's huge. Great to have Kyle back. As Chris had said, starting in Daytona, that was a big setback for us and for Kyle, and it was a great relief for us to have him back today and to take him right to winner's circle. So that was big for the company, for Chris, and for Kyle. And I think for Chris and his team and all of our teams, really, we've reshuffled all 3 of ours a little bit this year, so we've been in a kind of a rebuilding mode. The crew chiefs and all 3 teams have done an excellent job in coming together, putting their heads together, formulating programs, improving our cars, and I think obviously when we have somebody like Kyle in there to help us benchmark them, tell us where we are, that's helpful. Same with Denny, Matt, the Cup guys that are in there. So we're looking forward to continuing this year. We're hoping this will be the turn of the corner for us and that we can get our stuff going back towards the front every week. And again, just appreciate all the effort and the work these guys put behind it.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions for Chris, Kyle, or Steve. If you have one, please state your name and affiliation. We'll start with Reed and go to Jim.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Kyle, you're looking and sounding very chipper. Is the fact that you chose this race to come back and then went out and won it an indication that you're getting pretty close to 100%?
Choose is a relative term, but we came back for this race, let's put it at that, and did a great job. But I had a lot of help in doing that. So I would say that, yeah, I mean, I'm certainly getting better each and every day. You know, I think every day is a step in the right direction. You know, I think obviously the first step was just being able to stand up. Next step was being able to walk. Next step was, you know, all those things. Then getting to the Cup car and being able to race in that, and you know, try to knock off some good finishes. And unfortunately, we haven't been knocking off the finishes in which we've been running. You know, Charlotte we ran top 5, and Dover we ran top 5, and last week we probably finished about where we should have last week, but I was a little disappointed in the finish, just where we were late in the going. We were kind of up in third, fourth, something like that. So on the Cup side, so this is a race that I wasn't slated to do. Post-injury, you know, we were actually going to try to come back Kentucky, I think, but you know, it wasn't really that big of a deal. Just trying to make sure that I continue through the right healing and doing all those things the best I can.
All right, we'll go to Jim.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. This is kind of follow up on Reed's question, but your return to the Xfinity Series was kind of announced nonchalantly this week. Did you have any second thoughts personally about returning to the series at a certain point in time? You just mentioned you thought it might be Kentucky, but I know you've already been back racing Cup. But any reservations about coming back to this series? No
reservations to come back to Xfinity here. You know, I've run it for so long, so many years that yeah, I got hurt in it, but you know, it could have been hurt in any other race too on the Cup side. So that's not what we worry about as drivers. You know, you worry about trying to go out there and do what we did today, just have fun, work hard, and try to prepare ourselves to get ready for tomorrow and learn some things out there. I felt like I learned some things today that could be beneficial and useful for tomorrow in the Cup race, and that's kind of why I've always run these races, is just that tooling factor to get myself prepared a little bit better. So you know, it's all been good, and whether it was this weekend or Kentucky that I returned, it really didn't make that much of a difference. I was just trying to give myself through the off week and then past Daytona, so you could just make sure that we had a few more weeks. But no harm, no foul here this weekend. Really, it's all been pretty good.
I believe we had a question in the back. Do we have another question?
Asked and answered.
Okay.
Thank
Okay, we'll come up to Kenny and then back to Reed.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Kyle, was there a point in your mind where you thought you might be back in victory lane, or did you assume or think that, you know, it may be late in the summer before I'm at that point?
I never really put much thought into any time during the recovery of when I needed to be back in a victory lane. Just knew that I'm good enough. Joe Gibbs Racing's good enough. Chris Gale is. Adam Stevens is. You know, whether it was the Cup side or the Xfinity side, I certainly knew that, you know, we would still win some races this year. So this doesn't surprise me. You know, I think that we've just got to make sure that we're able to have this sort of success on Sunday, and you know, no added pressure, but I've always known it's been there. Like I said, we've been running strong the last couple of weeks. We just need to find that little bit more on Sundays to put ourselves in the bracket of those guys that are running up front each and every week, like the 4, the 41, you know, the 48 ran good last week. In the last few weeks this year, I guess he's got 4 wins. Jeez. So, you know, that group of guys, we just got to be able to run with them, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to. So we just got to get a little bit better.
All right, we'll go back to Reed.
Reed Spencer, NASCAR Wire Service. On the Sunday side of things, I'd just like to get your analysis of what you think we might have with the new aero rules that are going to be in effect probably by Kentucky.
I have no idea what to expect, really. I've never driven them. They had a test here last year, the year before, that they kind of tested those rules, or that configuration, let's call it. And a lot of the drivers were very receptive to it. They liked it, you know, and less grip, more off throttle time, just more ability to maneuver the car around and put more in the driver's hands instead of just this aero game that we're all playing. You know, we're racing 3,400-pound Indy cars every week. You know, it's crazy just how these things feel now and how glued to the racetrack they are. So we got to get the stock car back into it and have it slide around a little bit. So, you know, that's what we all grew up wanting to be, with stock car drivers, not IndyCar drivers. So, you know, I hope that they continue on down that path. I think it's good for all of us. Now, whether it relates to closer racing, more side-by-side racing, closer finishes, or, you know, the leader being the 43rd car being closer to the leader, I don't know any of that. Like I said, I didn't drive any of it, but I'm optimistic for the package and being able to put more in the driver's hands.
All right. Any final questions for Chris, Kyle, or Steve? Okay. We'll go to Lee up front.
Did I?
I'm sorry, do you plan on racing in Chicagoland next week?
No, it was never on the original schedule. I won't be there.
But how many more do you think you're going to have throughout the season?
Whatever the original schedule was slated to be, so I presume it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be after Kentucky. After Kentucky, it's pretty much everything except for the non-companions.
Since you're up there, Steve, can you just kind of address how bright the future is in the lower series for Joe Gibbs Racing right now, and what Kyle's doing over at Kyle Busch Motorsports? Because it's, you know, and now with Christopher Bell coming up, he's another incredible talent. Kyle seems to be able to find them, but I mean, you know, what are you going to do with all these kids?
Yeah, he's made my job a whole lot easier. I got to keep texting him, thanking him. But you're right. We've got a boatload of young talent coming, and the sport needs it. And, you know, our job is we have to figure out what's the best route for them, and the alignment, the chemistry, what series we need to put them in. And obviously Kyle is a huge part of that on his truck program, has an excellent program over there, and we're just trying to nurture him kind of through that. And then in the right time, right opportunity, we look at the Xfinity program. But the question, you're absolutely right. The question is going to be is where can we put them? And we'll have to work through that as we move forward. Right now, Daniel and Eric are really showing well. Christopher coming. There's a couple others that we like a lot too. So time will tell. Well, the ARCA races were on his schedule to start with. There's just 4 for this year, and then we worked with Kyle and put him in 13, I think, 13 truck races, and we may do the same thing again next year just because it's a huge step, as most people realize, from K&N up to where we are now, from where he was really in the Mexico Series. And so the things that we want to do to just continue to get him the seat time. Kyle's been wonderful with them. I know they have about a weekly call, I think, where Kyle literally runs a track with them mentally, and it's been hugely helpful for him. I think he does that with Eric and some of his other guys too. So he's been a big, big part of that as we mature these guys and bring them along.
Can you talk about expectations for Christopher at Iowa?
I don't have any expectations for him. I guess.
What it is you saw about him that...
Well, kid's fast. He's done a wonderful job in our super late model program. We know our super late model program's good. I go, you know, to some shows during the year, and I win in it. Eric Jones has won in it, and we've had some others that have come and sat in our seats, and they don't win in it. They don't run very well. Sometimes they tear up stuff. But man, Chris, I think his worst finish is second or third. And shouldn't have even been second or third. And some of those, you know, he just had either a bad restart, which he's learning, or you know, the winner may have taken a tire because they had a flat tire in the middle of the race. In these races that you don't get tires, you know, so that's obviously an advantage. But no, I mean, Chris going to Iowa in the Truck Series, he ran that K&N race out there, and the first lap on the track in practice, he goes off into the corner and turns the steering wheel. It don't turn. So then it all of a sudden bites, and he gasses it up, and he spins it out and backs it in, I guess, you know, just minimal damage. But he learned right then and there, all right, well, you don't do that again, you know. So we wanted to get him that experience to get him slated for the truck. And, you know, Toyota's really been behind him even since his, you know, sprint car days, midget days, and all that stuff. So appreciate their support and helping him to the truck level. And we'll see what we can do, get him some experience at Iowa. Expectations, I don't know. I mean, just try to run all the laps, stay on the lead lap, I guess, you know. You know, really should be able to do top 15, not that challenging. And then from there, we'll see what other races we can work on to try to get him in some truck races this year, or maybe even just wait till next year and fill him in.
Any final questions? All right. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.